Welcome back to the channel. So today we will be solving this very common problem, which is find missing ID. So here in this problem, we have been given one table where we have the few numbers, basically, which are ranging between 1 to 10, and we need to find like which all IDs over here are missing. So if you see, we have one, and then we have three, but we don't have two, right? So that should come in the output. Similarly, we don't have four also, so four is in the output. We have five, six, seven, but we don't have eight, so eight is in the output, and similarly nine and 10. So this problem is there. So this question can be asked in any of the interviews, be it SQL, PySpark, or Python, or Pandas, right? So you can find the like the SQL version of this problem or the Python version of this problem in the link in the description section. You can check out that also. So let's start. So how we will approach this problem? So if you see, we need to find the missing ID, right? So one way could be like we can generate a number between the minimum and the maximum IDs which are there. So here in the input, if you see, the minimum is 1, right? And then the maximum is 10. What we can do, we can generate a value between 1 to 10, right? So let's do that first. Let me do that quickly. So if you see, we have the 10, like the values ranging between 1 to 10. And then the next step, what we can do, there are multiple ways after this point, right? We can find the difference between these two columns, or we can do the join also. So we will go with the join, right? So what we will do, we will join these two tables, and we will consider this table as a left table, this table as a right table, and then we can filter out the null records, right? Whichever the non-matching record, we can filter out, right? So let's jump and in the like the in the PySpark and do this. So okay, so this is the Jupyter notebook. So here, if you can see, I have like done the starting thing. So here, if you can see, this is our input data, right? And we need to find the missing value. So as I mentioned, we will find the minimum and the maximum value, right? So here, if you see this piece of code, what we are doing, we are importing the values, right? The minimum and the maximum function which we are importing, and then we are finding the minimum and then the maximum value, like the minimum ID and the maximum ID. Let me explain this, how we got this, right? Let me explain this. So let's first find out the minimum value, right? I have commented the above thing, and let's do that. So we are first of all, we are writing this piece of code df dot select, and then the minimum of what ID. So ID you can find from here, right? ID, and let's print this ID, right? So if you can see, this returns a data frame. This returns a data frame, right? So, and this is the list, right? So what we can do, like this is the sim not a list. This is a simple data frame object it is returning. Then what we can do, we can use the collect, right? We can use the collect, and let's see what we are getting. And then, and in the next step, we can write the min ID. Okay. Okay. So the above has not yet Prime. Okay. So you can see we have a list of one record, the minimum value, right? And then the next step, what we can do, we can get the first record and the first column value, right? That we can find. So you can see here we got one, right? We got one. Similarly, for the max, the same thing is there, right? Similar fashion, we can find the max. So let me remove this. So all this I did for explanation, right? And let me uncomment this. Similarly, we will find the max also. Let me write this in the here min value, and then the max value, print max value. So these are the minimum and the maximum value in the given input, right? Let me run it again. Okay, now you can see the minimum and the maximum value, right? So we have the min as 1 and then max is 10, right? So the next step, as we discussed, the next step will be generating the data frame where the value will range between 1 to 10, right? The minimum maximum value. So for that, we will use the inbuilt function range, right? The spark dot range, and it takes two parameter between the starting point and the ending point. So we are passing the minimum and the maximum. So this basically exclude the extreme value. So that's why we are writing +1 because we want till 10, right? And if we run this, so we are getting this value, right? 1 to 10. Okay, so if you see like the default this range, what it returns one column and the default value is ID. Okay, that we are renaming using the with rename function, right? So we are renaming is as ID all. Basically, this ID all represent that we have all the IDs over here, right? So this ID all we got, and then the next step, as we discussed, so the next step will be joining these two tables. So how we are joining? We are doing the right left join, right? We are doing the left join. So if you see here we have written the data frame which we created, right? The df min max. So df min max, this represents the data between the minimum value and the maximum value. And then we are joining with the df, the original df, the input one over here. And then we are joining on these two columns, basically the df.id and then the df minimax.id all. And how we are joining? We are joining the left. So why left? Because we want all the data to come from this data, and we want only the matching records to come from this, the input one. So we got this, right? We got this. So if you can see, like the ID 11, it is matching, 33, it is matching. Similarly, 5, 6, 7 is matching, 9 and 10 is matching, but we don't have the 2, 4 and 8, right? So that's why we are getting the null in the right side, right? Null in this df. So what's next? So basically we don't want these record, right? We don't want the matching record. We want the missing one. So how we can filter? We can just simply write this df final. So the name of this df is df final, and df final dot filter, and we are just filtering the id column where it is null. So we are using the is null function, right? And we are importing the call. So this comes from the PySpark dot function, right? Instead of like importing all the functions, so we can simply write from PySpark dot function import start. So we don't want to import all the function because it takes time to like import again and again, right? It take time to execute. That's why as and when the function is required, we are importing simply, right? So if you can see here, we got the record where these data is null. So if you can see, the ID is null, so we should get three record, right? One, two, and three. So we got over here, right? And now I think we have got our required output. So out of these two column, we only bother about this ID all column. So we are selecting that column and we are like printing it over here. So this we solved, right? So here if you see 2, 4, and 8, and if you see here also we got 2, 4, and 8. So I think we have solved this problem. So if you like this content, please do like, subscribe, and share the channel. And for the other version like the SQL and the Python version, you can find the link in the description section. Until then, bye.